Okay, we're going to take notes on our cult checklist today. Remember that you can pause or move these notes anywhere you need to at home. As we do this, you'll notice there are pictures of different cults that are famous throughout the world or throughout the United States, and you can add that to number 9 on your sheet so that we can hand that in today. So make sure you're filling those in. It'll give you a little bit of background about some of the groups that we're going to hear about. Okay? All right. So first of all, on our title page here, you will see a very famous cult in world history. Shoko Asahara was the founder of a religious cult called Shikrio, something like that. Anyway, they were the group that were convicted of using sarin gas in the Tokyo subway and killing a bunch of people. Because a lot of times these cults have a purpose, and the purpose is to kill a group of people. And so he was actually found guilty and was sentenced to death in 2004. So he's kind of a famous guy in cult realms. So Shinrikyo, I think is how you say it, is the name of the cult. That was in Japan. All right, so let's look at our characteristics of a cult. Number 1, and again, you want to abbreviate these in your notes, short and sweet, right? Number 1, the group focuses on a living leader, who is usually the pastor, and you have unquestionable loyalty. So here are a couple of examples. This cult is named Heaven's Gate, and the leader's name was Marshall Applewhite. We'll hear about that group with one of your presentations. They believed that there were some aliens coming, and so they were getting prepared for that. Very interesting leader, and he believed that he was like the godly living leader of their group. We also have a Russian cult, and this guy was the leader. His name was Konstantin Rudnev. He was jailed for sex crimes. Our second characteristic is they are preoccupied with recruiting new members. Very important. And typically when they come to you, it's very innocent. In fact, a lot of people get pulled in because it seems like normal. You know, they invite you to come to a dinner or something, and you play games and you sing songs and you have fun and there's food and drink and merriness. But what they don't show you is what's happening at your service or what your leader really believes. You have to be a member to see that. And it's like, well, if you join us, you'll get to find out. So there's always a little secretive stuff going on there. Number 3, they are preoccupied with raising money. And it's usually for some big project. Now, it's one thing to add a little addition to your church. That's a project, okay? But when we say a project here, usually they're either lying or it's a very big titled project, like we're raising money to save the world from sin. And they're using the money for something else or given to the leader. Quite often the leader will make money. Sometimes they will go door to door and they will lie and say that it's to find a cure for AIDS or cancer. And then they'll use the money for their cult. Of course, number 4, you know already, cults do not allow questions or doubt. And you can be punished for those questions. All caught up? How you guys doing over here? Okay, number 5. This is something we have not talked about, but you saw it in the video. They quite often use mind-numbing techniques, such as meditation, speaking in tongues, chanting, denunciation, I can't say that word, denunciation sessions. Like you saw in the video, They thought he had sin in him. So they basically have this session to try to get the sin out of him, you know. Another one that is quite often used is an exhausting work routine. Hitler did the same thing. He had his meetings at night on purpose because he knew that you are tired at the end of the day and your mind is more susceptible to new ideas at night. So they do the same thing. They would have you work very hard so that, you know, by the time you're really thinking and talking, you're not asking questions anymore. Yeah, I know. I was typing these up at night. They used to be on my overhead projector. I decided to put this away. I'm going to try to put this to rest this year. So I still use it occasionally, but it's really getting bad. You can't hardly see it anymore. So, all right, number 6. You saw examples of this. The leader dictates in great detail how you should think, act, and feel. Members, this is the interesting part. They get permission for who they can date. They're usually told who they marry. They have to get permission to change their job, even what clothes to wear, where they should live. A lot of them are required to live on a compound, or even how to raise their children, as you saw in our video example. What I think is interesting is this where to live issue is it's a trigger. A lot of people, when they see a church that says you have to live on campus, people are starting to go, ooh, that's a cult. So they stay away. So a lot of the newer cults are not doing compounds as much because they know that people tend to stay away. They're saying, yeah, you can live at home, but you basically are living your whole day at the church. So they're doing the same thing. What's that?
Do they like give you food too, or what?
Quite often, yeah.
How do they afford all that?
Fundraising. Illegal fundraising, quite often.
Like money laundering?
Money laundering, going door to door, asking for money for cancer research, and then using it for them, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Of course, number 7, the group is elitist. They see themselves as above everybody else, and their leader is usually a god, a messiah, an avatar, something like that, and they have a special mission for the world. Some of them believe the second coming is coming, or like this one group believed that there was a big UFO ship in a mountain in France, and they believed that on a certain day, on a particular year, that the aliens were going to come back, the UFO was going to come out of the mountain, they're going to hitch a ride and go with the aliens away to their world. So it's quite interesting. This is the guy I was telling you about. This Australian cult leader is around right now, and his members are increasing by the thousands. He believes he is Jesus come back from the dead. And they believe him. They believe him. This guy here, or this group, is really a sad story. This is the Jonestown cult, and this is before they enacted a mass suicide. You maybe have heard about this cult that made them all drink Kool-Aid, and there was poison. That's that group. Yeah. Okay, moving on to our next page. Number 8, cults tend to have a polarized us versus them mentality, which is why they tend to have conflict with the rest of the world, why they tend to cut off their ties with their family and friends, because they see them as the evil enemy versus the good guys. Number 9, the group's leader is not accountable to authorities or the law. For example, you'll see that a lot of these guys are in prison right now, not because of their beliefs, because we have freedom of belief in our country for the most part, but it's because they're doing something that breaks the law, whether it's polygamy or it's sexual molesting children or embezzling money. They see that the laws don't apply to them, and they hide behind that cult to try to do what they want to do. And quite often, they aren't always on center as far as the people goes. If they do have a board, it's typically made up of a group of close friends. So you know that they're going to be yes people that say yes to whatever he or she does. Number 10, the group teaches that the exalted end whatever that may be, justifies the means. And it's often something unethical. So, for example, collecting money for charity to cure cancer, to get ready for the end of the earth. Maybe the end is to kill regular people that aren't a part of the cult, like the Japanese cult that did the sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway. They're justifying it by what their goal is, and it's not always ethical. Number 11, the leadership uses guilt to control members. You saw that in the video. So, for example, no wonder our children are sick. There are still some of you who do not truly believe in our Messiah. So you're being punished because you didn't believe enough. You also saw in the video, they use guilt to control the members by saying that if they left the cult, they would be damned to hell. So they use guilt a lot. If you'll notice some of the examples here on this page, this cult member, you notice the title, it's like, I am your God, you must die. So you see that real God complex, and ultimately, you must die for my cause. You need to take that poison or do whatever I ask of you for the ultimate end. In Minnesota, this particular cult leader was charged with 59 counts of sexual abuse. They made it okay because you were serving your cult leader, and we know that that's not an ethical thing to do. Number 12, members tend to cut ties with family and friends. We've heard about that already because they're considered the enemy. But not only that, if you see someone starting to go into a cult, you will see that their lifestyle will change completely. They will drop things that were really important to them in the past. Their previous goals and activities will be limited or completely put away, gone. It just seems like they're too busy with church. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad to be a part of your church, but it will feel like they live there and that is the only thing in their life because they're being taught that that is the only thing that's important. This kind of goes along with it. Number 13, members are expected to devote large amounts of time to the group. Like I said, cults are now kind of wary to require people to live on their compound because that's kind of a warning sign to people when they're recruiting. So they may have them live at home, but they will be spending from basically sun up to sundown there with meditation and praying all day, going out recruiting, trying to earn money, all that stuff. It's all about the survival of the group. Number 14, members are required to live, socialize only within the group. They will even tell you who to marry within the group because having an outsider would be against the rules. Members who leave are seen as dangerous and they are completely cut off. You aren't allowed to talk to them or even associate with them typically. A really good example of that is if you see in this right-hand corner here, Tom Cruise is known for being a Scientologist. He's a part of Scientology. And he and his wife, Katie, were married, had a baby. And then Katie decided, they wanted a divorce. And so Katie and the daughter left. And the big discussion in public was, what would the Scientologists do? Because if you leave, they are shunned, they're cut off, and they're not allowed to associate with their previous friends, family, and stuff like that. So there were questions raised about that. On the left-hand side, you'll see an example of one of the compounds of one of our cults. This one was in Waco, Texas. It's kind of a famous one. It was known for a really big blow up, I guess you might say. The DEA and stuff, they actually went in here because they had reports of sexual molestation of youth, children, and they had a stockpile of weapons. Now, not just like weapons for hunting, but I'm talking enough weapons to overthrow a government. And so they went in and they refused to come out. They had to stand up, and there was explosions and all kinds of stuff. So people were killed. We'll take a look at that when you do your reports. Number 15, high status members like actors, doctors, lawyers are given publicity to lend credibility to the group. Tom Cruise is probably the most obvious example. When you have someone famous like that is a part of your group, you're going to advertise that and let everybody know, because it makes it seem like your group is more normal and that it's okay to join. So they will definitely publicize someone that's famous. All right, I think that's the end of our notes for today.